Girl gets attached to stray cat, shocked when she discovers where he came from. Emily had always loved animals, especially cats. She grew up with cats and they had always been a huge part of her life. She loved the way they purred and curled up on her lap, and the way they always seemed to know when she was feeling down. So, when Emily saw the stray cat sitting alone on the bench, she knew she had to help him. At first, the cat seemed hesitant to approach her. He watched her from a distance, his big green eyes gazing at her curiously. Emily slowly approached him, making sure to move slowly and calmly. She held out her hand and the cat slowly approached her, sniffing at her fingers. Emily felt a rush of excitement as the cat finally rubbed his head against her hand. She knew that this cat needed her help, and she was determined to give it to him. Emily picked up the cat and felt his soft fur brush against her cheek. He was so small and vulnerable, and she couldn't help but feel a strong sense of protectiveness towards him. She knew that she couldn't leave him there, all alone in the park. As she walked home, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement building inside of her. This little cat was going to change her life. She could already picture all the wonderful moments they would share together. She imagined playing with him in the backyard, cuddling with him on the couch, and watching him purr contentedly as she scratched behind his ears. As soon as she got home, Emily set up a cozy bed for the cat in her spare room. She gave him some food and water and watched as he eagerly ate and drank. The cat seemed grateful for her help, and Emily knew that she had made the right decision. Over the next few days, Emily and the cat grew closer and closer. She named him Whiskers, and he would follow her everywhere she went. Emily had never felt so attached to an animal before. Whiskers seemed to understand her in a way that no human ever had. He was her constant companion, her confidant, and her source of comfort. As Emily watched Whiskers play, she couldn't help but wonder how such a sweet cat could have been abandoned. She knew that there were many other cats like Whiskers out there, wandering the streets, searching for food and shelter. Emily made a promise to herself that she would do everything she could to help cats like Whiskers in the future. Little did Emily know, Whiskers had a secret that would change everything. But for now, she was content to just enjoy their time together and to be grateful for the love and joy that Whiskers had brought into her life. Emily's attachment to Whiskers grew stronger every day. She loved spending time with him, playing with him, and watching him explore the world around him. Whiskers was no longer just a cat. He was her best friend. Emily noticed that Whiskers had a habit of following her everywhere she went. When she cooked in the kitchen, he would sit at her feet and watch intently. When she watched TV on the couch, he would snuggle up next to her and purr contentedly. Emily couldn't help but smile every time she saw him. She felt like she had found a kindred spirit in Whiskers. Whiskers had also become a bit of a local celebrity. Whenever Emily took him for a walk, people would stop and ask to pet him. They would ask about his story and Emily would tell them about how she had found him in the park. People were always amazed by how sweet and friendly he was, and Emily felt proud to be the one who had rescued him. But as much as Emily loved spending time with Whiskers, she couldn't help but wonder about his past. Who had abandoned him, and why? She knew that Whiskers had a secret, but she couldn't figure out what it was. One day, while she was playing with Whiskers in the backyard, she noticed something strange. Whiskers was pawing at a loose brick in the wall. Emily didn't think much of it at first, but when Whiskers wouldn't stop, she decided to investigate. She pulled out the brick and was shocked to find a small, weathered photograph inside. The photograph was of a young girl, no older than Emily herself, with a cat sitting in her lap. The cat looked just like Whiskers. Emily's heart skipped a beat. Could this be Whiskers' original owner? She turned the photo over and saw a handwritten note on the back. It read, "To my sweet Whiskers, I will always love you. Love, Mommy." Emily's eyes filled with tears. She knew now that Whiskers had once had a loving home, and that he must have been devastated when he was abandoned. She felt a surge of anger towards whoever had done this to him. But Emily knew that the most important thing now was to show Whiskers how much he was loved. She hugged him tightly and promised to never abandon him. From that day forward, she was even more determined to give Whiskers the happy life he deserved. As Emily and Whiskers sat on the porch watching the sunset, she knew that their bond was unbreakable. She had rescued him, but in many ways, he had rescued her too. Emily felt like she had found a purpose in life, to help animals like Whiskers who had been abandoned and forgotten. Little did Emily know there was still more to Whiskers' story, but for now, she was content to just enjoy their time together and to be grateful for the love and joy that Whiskers had brought into her life. The discovery of the photograph had opened up a new world of questions for Emily. Who was Whiskers' previous owner? How did he end up as a stray in the park? She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Emily began to search for clues about Whiskers' past. She talked to the neighbors and the local animal shelter, but nobody had any information about a missing cat matching Whiskers' description. It seemed like he had just appeared out of nowhere. One day, while Emily was walking Whiskers around the neighborhood, she noticed something strange. A car had pulled up beside her and the driver was staring at Whiskers intently. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She had heard stories about people who stole pets and sold them for profit. As the car drove away, Emily made a mental note of the license plate number. She decided to do some investigating of her own. She searched the internet for the number and was shocked to find a news article from a few years ago about a pet theft ring. The article mentioned that the ring had been shut down and that all of the stolen animals had been returned to their owners, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She kept digging and eventually found a website for a local animal rescue organization. As she scrolled through the photos of cats available for adoption, one caught her eye. It was a cat that looked exactly like Whiskers, but with a different name. Emily's heart was pounding. Could it be possible that Whiskers had been stolen from his original owner and sold to someone else? Emily immediately contacted the animal rescue organization and explained the situation. They agreed to look into it and asked her to bring Whiskers in for a microchip scan. Emily was nervous as she waited for the results. What if Whiskers was someone else's cat after all? When the scan came back, Emily's worst fears were confirmed. Whiskers had a microchip, and it was registered to a woman who lived on the other side of the city. Emily was devastated. She had grown so attached to Whiskers, and now she had to give him up. Emily decided to call the woman and explain the situation. The woman was surprised and grateful to hear that Whiskers had been found. She explained that she had disappeared from her home 2 years ago, and that she had given up hope of ever finding him. She told Emily that Whiskers was a special cat, and that he had helped her through some tough times. Emily knew that it was the right thing to do, but it still hurt to say goodbye to Whiskers. She held him tight and whispered in his ear that she loved him and would never forget him. As she handed him over to the woman, she couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. But Emily also knew that Whiskers was going home. He was going back to someone who loved him just as much as she did. She felt grateful for the time they had together, and for the memories that they would always share. As Emily walked away, she knew that Whiskers had taught her something important. Love is not just about possession, it's about caring for someone else and wanting the best for them. She felt proud of herself for giving Whiskers a second chance and for being there for him when he needed her most. And she knew that she would continue to help animals in need, just like Whiskers. Emily felt a mix of sadness and joy as she walked away from the woman's house. She missed Whiskers already, but she was also happy that he was going back home. She continued to volunteer at the animal shelter, taking care of cats and dogs who were waiting for their forever homes. A few weeks after Whiskers had left her life, Emily received a surprising phone call. It was the woman who owned Whiskers, thanking her again for finding him and telling her that she had a surprise for her. Emily was confused but intrigued. The woman invited her to her house, promising that she would be delighted with what she had in store for her. Emily agreed, eager to see what the surprise was. When she arrived at the woman's house, she was greeted by a chorus of meows. Emily's eyes widened as she saw a room full of cats, all looking up at her with curiosity. The woman explained that she was a cat lover and had been rescuing and fostering cats for years. She told Emily that she was so touched by her kindness and dedication to helping animals that she wanted to give her something special. The woman explained that she had rescued a litter of kittens a few weeks ago and that she wanted Emily to have one of them. Emily was overjoyed. She had always wanted a cat of her own, and now she had the opportunity to adopt a kitten who needed a loving home. The woman showed her the kittens, all of them tiny balls of fur with bright eyes and playful personalities. Emily fell in love with a little black and white kitten who was purring and nuzzling her hand. She knew that he was the one. She thanked the woman for her generosity and took the kitten home, feeling a sense of happiness and fulfillment that she had never felt before. As she watched the kitten play with a ball of yarn, she thought about Whiskers and how he had brought her so much joy and taught her so much about love and compassion. She knew that he was happy in his new home and that he had helped her to find her own furry companion. Emily named the kitten Whiskey in honor of Whiskers and made a promise to take care of him and give him all the love and attention he deserved. She knew that her journey with Whiskers had come to an end, but a new one had just begun with Whiskey. As Emily watched Whiskey curl up in her lap and fall asleep, she knew that she had found a new best friend. And she knew that no matter where life took her, she would always be grateful for the lessons she had learned from Whiskers and the love he had brought into her life.